Welcome to Market Research Masterclass in one of the next episodes. Episode number 3, data analysis in regards to MXP, membership experience. And on that side of the screen is Agata. I am currently MXP manager for Europe for the second semester. And I also used to be MCVPTM 21-22 of ISEC in Italy. I've been 6 years in ISEC. My 6th anniversary is coming in October, actually. I'm Polish, but I'm also a bit Italian at heart. After my 1 year there, I truly feel like this is kind of part of my soul right now. And yes, and what you need to know about me is that I love leadership. I love leadership development, and I think this is the most important thing that we are here and the only one worth fighting for. What you can talk to me about, it's mainly people management, HR, because right now I'm also a recruiter, because I'm working full-time right now. So if you want to talk to me about recruitment, let's say outside of ISEC and from external world perspective, we can have a little bit chat. But anyway, I'm just starting my journey professionally right now, so it will be still very much ISEC-wise perspective with a little bit of external one. So that's it about me. I hope that I would bring you some insights today. So when it comes to data analysis for the MXP and what kind of things you can expect from this space, basically this is the agenda. So first of all, we are going to reflect why is market research important for MXP, because I believe that every time we do anything in life and in ISEC, we need to ask ourselves why. Why do we need it? Then where to take data from, because this is always a nightmare. And as our exchange friends have EXPA, we don't really have that yet. So as you know, for membership, it's quite challenging sometimes. Then how to analyze the data. So we are going to dig deeper into the core of this session. So how to analyze the data, how to make it simple, how to make it useful. And then will be time for you to use it. So first of all, why do we need market research for the MXP? Because MXP, membership experience, is a product as any other. And any product, to sell any product, you need to be aware of your market needs, of your competitors, of your customers, and you need to be aware how you want to sell it later on. So without market research, you cannot approach the selling of your product properly. And then you will never actually grow with your product and improve your product to the needs of the market. Then, from the very membership perspective, you need market research actually to recruit right people and to retain them. So to recruit and retain members to your organization, to our organization. So with market research, you are actually able to recruit more people, because once you know your market, once you know how to target it, you will be able to reach your recruitment goal. So you will be able to actually recruit the amount of people that you want and the quality of people that you want, people in the target, people in the desired state that you want them to be. And then because of that, you will be able better to retain them and kind of meet their expectations with the organization, and to make sure that they grow within it and they stay for more than one team cycle, because this is what we want and what we dream for as the heads of the MXP product. And then the final thing is to know who we are looking for. So to make this kind of like a persona, an ideal member to join our organization, market research is there to help us do that. Because how would you be able to create a member persona if you don't have the data, right? So you need to make sure that you have the data to base later on your strategy on, and to base your the target that you will be looking for, to make it also effective. So this is why I hope I kind of encourage you that it's worth to make market research for MXP. And I think that if you are watching this episode, you actually know that this is worth it. And now we actually have the reason why pretty much defined. Then the question of the lifetime, where to take data from. So we have two options. First of all, we have internal sources. And the internal sources we already have established, right? As TM people, we have our membership service, engagement service, however you call them in your entity, but this monthly survey that you measure the satisfaction of your members with, right? You ask them very different questions there. You put very different things on the plate there. Then on the other hand, we also have membership databases. I hope you also have it in your entity. It's actually making, I don't know how about you, but for my term as MCPPTM, it was like center of attention of my life. Like every week before I did the report for my MC meeting, I was going to membership database, updating it, seeing how the talent capacity is going, how many members do we have, how many members we lost, why we lost them, where did it happen, etc., etc. But also in the membership database, it's not just about the number of talent capacity, but we also collected the different kind of data about members. So, for example, the university background, their age, which is very important. What also we collected also the data if they were attending, for example, the discovery days, and then we were recording kind of their whole ISEC journey. So I knew that I will go for a file of Monica, and then I will see that she was a team member in IGV, and then she was team leader in OGT, and then she became an LCVP TM, and now she's going to apply for LCP. So I know like a whole ISEC story of this person from the membership database, and it can be very useful for this kind of market research. And why do we use internal source in the market research, right? Because you can ask yourself like, okay, like I'm doing market research, so I'm doing research of my market, so I should go externally, not internally. But the point is, we want to recruit people who are similar to us, right? Like we already did something that worked, so those people that are in the organization are here, and they are kind of a representation of our market anyway. Like, of course, you may be, let's say, centered around, for example, certain faculty. Like, for example, there are committees which are based on the University of Economics, and they have just the faculties of economics. But then, like, this is the specifics of the market also, right? If you feel like you need to penetrate the market more and you want to increase people from different faculties, well, then it's time to ask yourself, like, why do we need that, first of all? And second of all, how can we do that? And then on the other hand, for that, you have the external source of data. So the data that you can collect externally from different sources. And then here it's just some of the examples that, let's say, I used. I used, for example, the form to old OGV signups or previous applicants for recruitment. So people who, for example, were not processed. So this is kind of like people who didn't make it happen, who drop out from the process at some point of time, and we kind of also with this form wanted to remind them about ISEC, like good morning, we are here, and we want to remind you about this. But we also wanted to gain insights of like what made them interested in ISEC and what were their perceptions about the organization, etc., etc. But what you need to know for this external source is that it's way harder to collect data from the external source, because again, from the internal one, you already have this data. You either just need to make sure that you have a bit closer to 100% response rate in the membership survey this month, or you just a bit update your membership database and then you are fine. But when it comes to external source, it's just like putting an effort to actually fulfill this form. But if you really believe that this will be useful for you, then I'm not saying it's something not useful doing, but I'm saying just start from the internal one and then develop to the external one once you really know what you want to gain from it. Because, for example, like I will give you my example because this is the only one I have, the only one that I've been through. Like I have my experience and I can just tell you from my experience that we did this, the form to the old OGV signups and previous applicants, and the response was shitty. Because what we did was simply send ton of mails to the mailing list of people that we had in our base. And that's it. We didn't put a lot of effort in that, and this is something that I need to acknowledge. And we just, like, we wanted to collect this data, then it failed, and then we never actually proactively used it. But after the whole year of my term, something that we came up with, and the learning, it's actually from the marketing commission, is something that you can use also here, are the customer calls. So, for example, you take some of your old customers, of people that dropped out from the process at some point, and you call them and you ask them certain questions. So we already, let's say, cut to the chase, and we don't send people just the form that they need to fill in someday, and we know how people are with the filling out the forms. But we call them and we ask them genuinely about their experience with us, and we ask them genuinely for the feedback. So, for example, what my successor did with her commission, once I was finishing my term and she was taking over, they did customer calls with the people who dropped out from the process. So we had, for example, people who applied but never reached to the interview. Of course, there is like a small percentage that these people will not answer, for example. But then we had also people who joined the interview, but then they resigned afterwards. So they dropped between the interview and becoming a new joiner. Then we had the people who joined, but never, let's say, came to the local conference and participated in the onboarding. So we also called that people. So and then later on, all of our exits, so people who we lost within the way, because that was actually kind of our way to see how we can improve in the process. So this is something that you can use. You can read about customer calls way more in the internet, but also I think another episodes of this masterclass can be useful for that. But what I also recommend you is to contact my amazing successor, which is Marta, and the current MCVP team of ISEC in Italy, and she will tell you how this thing worked. So let's cut to the chase. So how are the examples of this data, and how to, once you collect it, how to put it, how to make it useful, blah blah. So this is the example of my NMS data, so the national membership survey that we had in Italy. So we were basically asking people, why did you stay in ISEC? And you can see that we gave them a lot of options. And then, as you can see, those options have some things in common. So we kind of connected them in groups. And later on, those 3 groups, so development, network, impact, were kind of were the base of our customer personas that we later on created. And as you can see, also we divided per VPs and team leaders, team members. So we had this type of chart for VPs and team leaders, team members, and this type of chart for VPs, team leader, team member. Also because we have different, we have national membership survey for this target and for the other one. These are 2 different surveys, but also this data is different because these are the people that stayed for longer in the organization, and these are the people that, let's say, are our North Star, that we want them to stay for longer. So once you take them out and just analyze their group, you can have different type of insights than once you analyze team leaders and team members, because the dynamics of the group is totally different also. Then other useful data that you can collect and you should consolidate before you go to the analysis. So making sure that you have it in one spreadsheet, in one table, in one chart, in one whatever, is, as I was already mentioning, university background of people. So making sure that you categorize who are, what are the main university backgrounds of your membership, which university backgrounds are the most interested in ISEC, in your entity, and then in every single LC. The LCs should do that. And based on that, it can be later on useful for the recruitment, of course. Then motivation to join and motivation to stay, which is different for people sometimes. And we also can differentiate that through the membership survey. For example, I was asking in the first membership survey, after people joined, why did they join? And then in every single one later on, we were asking, why did you stay? So there were also interesting insights. Then we were also asking them for their future plans. So where do they want to work, for example? These were kind of questions that BD wants to ask. I don't know how it works in your entity, but for example, in Italy, MCVP BD was bringing questions from our partners, which were sometimes very connected with the one partner, but sometimes they were kind of universal, and they were also giving cool insights for me as MCVP TM, not only for the company. You can also see the example of this kind of questions in the global ISEC member survey. For example, we were asking our members, where do they want to work, not only in which company, but where, in terms of what kind of field of work are they interested in, and then also what kind of skills do they want to develop. And then once you have this basic data consolidated, you can create your persona. So the person that the groups that characterize your membership within your entity, and then you can understand if, okay, these are the people that I want to attract to my organization, or maybe there is something that I want to change. I have these members, this characteristic of a member, and I want to make sure that I am just bringing more of this type of members to my organization. Or you, for example, have, I don't know, you out of this research you will get like 2 personas that are cool and 1 persona that you don't want anymore in your organization, and then maybe you want to explore different field or different university background, right? Or different motivation, because maybe all of the people that are joining for development opportunities, and you have no one who wants to join to make any impact, and you want to change that, for example. Then it's time to do some kind of external research, maybe talk to your LCVPs and see how do they see that on local level, because on national level, well, your view is always kind of on macro scale and it's kind of general. So then they also need to always personalize it, etc. Okay, but I'm going too far in detail right now. This was about where to take data from. So summing it up, start from the internal source, start from the data that you already have collected. Then think about what kind of external source you need to use to collect more data that you need. Consolidate this data, and then we can move to the analysis. So how to analyze the data? Make it simple, make it useful, and use the data that you already have. So once you have all of the data collected and consolidated, make sure the data is simple to read, first of all to yourself and then to your commission, because those are the people who are going to execute later on the strategy for the recruitment. And market research is kind of the prologue to the recruitment strategy, the recruitment campaign. So make sure it's simple. Make sure it's useful. So, I don't know, make a tool out of it. Make a cool report out of it. Make it useful for your LCVPs to make their own local market research. Like, give them tools, give them a template that they can copy, something that they can edit and just add their own questions and they can spread around, for example, for the customer calls or something like that. And then use the data you already have, and also invite your VPs to use the data that they already have, and teach them also how to use it, because very often we take that for granted, that like we as MCVPs TM very often don't know how to properly use this data that we already have. So that's the first step, to learn it ourselves, but then to make sure that our commission knows that. But it's very possible that you have some data freaks in your commissions, because very often TM people are also data oriented. So that's connected to the next point, which is make it an activity. So this is something that I am always inviting people to do. Use your people, engage your people in making those things, in analyzing the data with you, in making the data simple, useful, and in transforming this data into the strategy later on, because those are the people who are going to, in the end, use this data. Like, as MCVPTM, you are just a strategist. You are just a person who is going to give a direction, show the North Star, show the strategies, show the importance of certain things, make people realize certain things. But then the LCVPTM is the one that is going to go and do the recruitment, go and do the synergy meeting with the LCV marketing, do the activities, attract people in the university, do the class shots, do the sales point, then do the interview with the people, and then select them in the end of the day, and then onboard them, and then we all know the domino effect, right? So the more you engage them in the, let's say, sooner phase, the better, because then you can also make them influence each other because of that. And I wanted to give you one example in that specifically, which is the creation of the task force. So this is something that I implemented in my commission when I was a commission head, and in my year, the main thing of the year to do was to implement the MXP, right? So the main role of the task force was to create and implement the MX standards SOPs and the blue code. So they needed to do research and implement the things regarding that. And I made sure that I am creating a little bit of excitement inside the commission, and then that people who are engaged in that are also, let's say, showcased, and that they are that they can put their contribution on the table. That was all. And then this is something that we used later on as a GCP for the next commission, which was also, let's say, engaged in the pretty similar way. So I, for example, created a summit that I wanted to organize, and instead of doing it by myself with my NSTs only, I engaged the whole commission, and I made them faces of the summit, and I made them logistic organizers of the summit, etc., etc. So this became kind of a culture of the commission, and then this is also something that my successor took over, and she created the task force for the recruitment itself. And it kind of became a thing that connected two commissions together. So they had two people from the TM commission and two people from the marketing commission. Actually, I think this task force is still on running. They are finishing the recruitment right now as we speak. But what was the purpose of this task force was to create different things. So starting from the customer calls that I told you about, and making sure that they support the commissions in that. Then they were creating tools that would be useful for the people, like anything that my successor wanted to bring as a strategy and as a core, and she didn't want to, let's say, create it by herself and just give a ready thing to the commission. She made it as an activity for the task force, and then the task force people were kind of an ambassadors of this idea. So this is kind of to inspire you how you make this a bit out of your shoulders, to make it sound useful to you, but then on the other hand to make it fun for your people, because there is nothing better to do before such a huge project, which is recruitment, or which is market research in general, than to engage your people. And I know that in some of the cases for you, maybe it will be already too late to do market research because you are finishing the recruitment, for example, right now. But market research is always useful, even if you are creating, for example, right now, the onboarding strategy. It still can make your onboarding better and more successful, making sure that you retain more people, etc., etc. All of those things are applicable. All of those things that I mentioned during this session. So summing up what I told on this slide, so how to analyze data, how to make it simple, make it useful, and use the data that you have already. The biggest and the most simple example to use is actually the customer persona that you can create. And you can create it, again, with your commission, or with the task force, or by yourself, and then make them adjust it and personalize it to their market. This is something that you always need to emphasize. That, okay, you are doing national market research and you are doing always you will do some kind of national guidelines or national strategy, but they always need to customize it, personalize it, because it's like all the markets are not the same. So, for example, all of the things that I am saying here, like even the example that you can see on my screen right now. So, for example, you have here David, a personal developer, which basically the core thing of this persona is that this person is driven by the personal development. So this is why he wants to join the organization. And this is how the persona looks like. So, for example, the age, what is our target age in this case? What are the fields of studies of this person? What are the channels that we can reach them through? What are the values that they can be the most interested within our portfolio? What are their goals? What are their frustrations? What are their reason to join, reason to stay, and reason to advance the organization? So this is what we created after consolidation of the data that I showed you before. So this is not something that we just took out from the air, but we took it from the data. And it might make sense to you as like, okay, Isaacers are actually, like, people are joining to develop themselves personally. Makes sense, makes sense. Can I just copy paste it? Well, you can copy paste the idea and you can copy paste the template, but make sure you analyze the data, right? And make sure that these are your own conclusions and not just something that you copy paste, because then it will not influence your strategy, and that's the main thing. So make sure your people also don't blindly copy paste you. And I know it's hard, and because it also happened to me that even if I wanted to engage my people and make them creative beasts, etc., there were still some people who were just copy pasting things. So it's inevitable, I think. So don't you worry about this. But yes, okay. And then here you will find the useful materials from my side. So the example of the admission analysis that I did. Admission is how we call recruitment in Italy. And the admission center, so kind of our center of attention, center of management of the admission, of the recruitment. So there are all of the things that are personas, timelines, scoreboard, and a lot of different things. I think I will also add here like the national membership survey for you just to check. And that's it. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope it was useful for you. I hope it will be useful either now or in the future, because as we know, recruitments are coming and going, and it will always be a relevant topic for us. But as I told you, even though if you are finishing recruitment right now, for example, this can still be useful. If you have any types of questions, you can reach me out. You know how to reach me. You have my number, you have my Telegram, you have my contacts. So make sure you reach me if you have any kind of questions after this session, because for sure this masterclass, this episode of masterclass, for sure it didn't answer all the questions, and maybe it even brought more questions to your mind. So if you still have them, you can address them first of all with yourself, but then you can also reach to me. Thank you very much and have a nice day, evening, morning, whatever. Bye.